And yes, it is, and it is a live edition of KC Sports Night. Jared Koller here in studio, and Mark Poulose, the lucky man, outside Arrowhead right now, where we have the Chiefs game to preview that we are a little less than 2 hours away from if you're joining us live here on the Keys to 5 Facebook, YouTube app. So, Mark, let's start there. Thanks for hanging out with us here amongst the tailgates. Let's start there. What's it been like? What's the energy like? Because, hey, we as educated Chiefs fans know that this game doesn't mean a whole lot, but that doesn't mean that there's still not a party at Arrowhead. Am I right?
Jared, that's really spot on. You know, when we showed up here at the parking lot, I wasn't quite sure what we were going to see because, you know, some people may think that week 3 of the preseason might be the most boring one of the entire NFL calendar because, you know, week 1 of the preseason, you're excited football is back. Week 2 of the preseason, the starters are going to play the most. They're going to play the entire preseason. We get to week 3, those starters, those key players, they are not going to play. But all day long, I was surprised by the energy here in the parking lot. I think the Chiefs fans really just want to get into their midseason form in tailgating. We saw multiple spreads, a whole bunch of buses, people bringing 4 or 5 crock pots to one deal. So, Jared, I can definitely tell you the vibes out here in the parking lot, you would think is a regular season game and not maybe the most boring preseason game of them all.
Oh, that's why I love Chiefs Kingdom. Can you confirm or deny that every tailgate has offered Kimo Hood food and that he's taken him up on that? I mean, is he just feasting out there?
I can confirm they have offered it, but I have to say Kimo has abstained. But he did find some Nebraska Cornhusker football fans, and they did talk about that. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of optimism going into the season for the Husker fans. They're
really
on a wing and a prayer here, but they're hoping for the best. But it doesn't sound like there's a lot of confidence.
Well, there you go. Shout out our photographer, Kimo Hood. Shout out Adrian Martinez, my favorite Nebraska quarterback. But they got Dylan Raiola. They just named him the starter who looks and acts just like Patrick Mahomes. I feel like optimism should be high for Husker fans. But either way, you know, Kimo not exactly the optimist when it comes to sports. That's what being a Twins fan will get you. All right, enough of that, Mark. Let's start talking about this game tonight. What are you hoping to see? What are you expecting to see? What are we in for here come kickoff against the Chicago Bears?
I certainly think there is a lot to look forward to because even though maybe we're not going to see some of those starters and those key players playing, what we are going to see on the field are players that are fighting for a job, not necessarily just on the Chiefs, but on any team in the NFL. So I'm certainly excited to see those players really battle it out. But again, some of these players maybe for the cornerback 2 battle that we're especially looking at here in Kansas City because I know that's definitely a big position that a lot of players and fans were looking at going into the season to see who would maybe start opposite of McDuffie. So maybe we can see some stuff there. But I think obviously, Jared, I think you would echo this sentiment as well. A lot of fans want to see the Chiefs get through this game healthy. We don't want to see anyone that could contribute or be a big contributor to this team leave this game with an injury. So I think a lot of people out here, they want to see some action, but they do want to see a lot of those key players that could make the team play injury-free.
Right. Well, and that risk right there is why the Chiefs starters are not playing. Andy Reid said the first team will not play. That includes Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. We'll see the extent. Like I wouldn't expect Kingsley Suamataia to play. I wouldn't expect Xavier Worthy to play, but they are rookies, Jared Wiley. So maybe they would see the field. I doubt it, but we will see what we are in store for tonight. But with the starters not playing, that also gives a lot of opportunity to the guys on the bubble. And so let's talk about that from an offensive perspective, Mark, starting with the wide receiver room. We know that Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Justin Watson are making the team for sure. Then there's 5 guys fighting for the final 3 spots, likely, if they keep 7 wide receivers. So out of Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Nico Remigio, and Kadarius Toney, you've been up at training camp. Where are you thinking these final couple of spots shake out?
I think the way you listed those players, I think we're going to see the first 3 stay on the team and those last 2 maybe off the team. Remigio, I think he's an NFL player, but I don't think it's going to be with the Chiefs. And then Kadarius Toney, I'm not sure where he's going to fit in with this roster, especially with who the players have maybe in their starting core of wide receivers. A lot of what the Chiefs did this offseason was adding a lot of speed. What we see with Xavier Worthy, and then we see their other top wide receivers like Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. I really think Justin Ross is a lock to make the team just because of the body that he's bringing to the game. A 6'4" wide receiver, a guy that many thought was going to be an early round pick in the NFL before some of those health questions came up. So I really think he is going to make the team. Sky Moore was a high draft pick with the team. I think he's going to be kind of a lock. And then Mecole Hardman, we've seen him do it on the biggest stage, and a lot of what this team wants to do is repeat for the third time in a row. And you want players who have done it before, and he certainly is one of those. But Jared, I got to bounce this question off you. Who do you think out of that 5 is actually going to make the team?
Yeah, I would agree with you, but what gives me a little pause is the fact that Dave Tobe, Chief Special Teams Coordinator, came to the podium on Tuesday and said he's fighting for Nico Remigio to make the team because he can really contribute and excel on special teams. And so if you look at Remigio as one of those 7 guys because of his special teams work, then I think it gets a lot harder. Then, while I agree, I like Justin Ross because he presents something different that the other guys don't as a big, tall, red zone threat. He can win a jump ball. At the same time, he's been injury prone in his career, and he can't really get open that much. He can't create separation. I think maybe Justin Ross is not the lock that you say he is. However, I personally, if I was Brett Veach, general manager of the Chiefs, I would keep Justin Ross. But that's where the Remigio thing kind of complicates it, and that's where this final game may go a long way. If he has a big game or if Justin Ross can get open a lot, then that maybe changes things. Sky Moore, as you mentioned, he's entering his 3rd year. I think he's likely in, but I don't think it's a guarantee, and same with Mecole Hardman. He's a veteran on the biggest stage, but if they want to go younger, if they want to go more ceiling, they could go elsewhere. They know what they have in Mecole Hardman. So I would agree with you, but I am not confident in that at all, with the exception of I agree Kadarius Toney is on the outside looking in. It creates for an interesting game tonight, right, with all these guys fighting for a job.
No, it certainly does, but I got to take a pause here and mention just like what a difference a year makes. I know last year, this was a wide receiver core. We were kind of wondering who was going to not drop the football, and now it looks like the Chiefs have a surplus of talent at that position. Certainly something good when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. It's funny because last year the Chiefs actually had a wide receiver in Amir Smith-Marset, who they're like, it's going to be tough to cut him, and because of how many wide receivers they have, and that just didn't pan out. But that's why they went to work this offseason and didn't just throw more numbers at it. They threw high-level numbers in the form of Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown. But as you mentioned at the top, obviously Brown getting hurt in week 1 of the preseason kind of creates a little bit different dynamic, and you hope everyone can get healthy and will avoid injury today. The other battle that maybe isn't as contested but I think is interesting is at running back. We know Isaiah Pacheco is going to make the team, but then do you keep 3 running backs or do you keep 4 running backs? And that would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Deneric Prince, and Carson Steele. They brought Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. He was a free agent. If they didn't like Clyde, they wouldn't have brought him back. So clearly they liked him, but he's missed a lot of practice time, missed some preseason time, and in his spot, Deneric Prince and Carson still have performed well. Do you anticipate them keeping all 4 running backs, or do you think one of them might get cut in order to make room for a 4th tight end or a 10th offensive lineman?
Well, I think the point that you brought up there that the Chiefs brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire when they didn't have to kind of tells you a lot that you need to know about that situation, because they could have just let him go, and it seems like they definitely want him here with the organization, but here with him missing practice due to PTSD, it really creates a situation that we haven't seen with the likes of the Chiefs, and this is really compounded by the fact that this Carson Steele has really come out of nowhere. I remember one of the first days they were showing up to camp, I was just looking at this. Who is this running back with long hair who just keeps making plays? And it turns out it's Carson Steele, and then the games come and he can still make plays. So I really think he has earned a way onto his roster, but we've heard head coach Andy Reid say that Carson Steele is going to have to maybe have some positional versatility, maybe be able to play a little bit of fullback at that position. But to carry 4 running backs in the NFL where passing is so king, I just don't really know how the Chiefs can do it. And it certainly is quite a conundrum here on their hands, considering all the different factors at play.
Yeah, and that's where I think Carson Steele's ability to potentially play fullback might make that a little bit easier. But even then, if you keep a fullback, that's still 4 in the backfield. You could even do 2 with a fullback. But I think they will keep 4, Mark, because cutting one of those guys, Isaiah Pacheco has battled through injury a lot. He hasn't missed that many games, but I don't know if he's built for a 21-game schedule 100% of the time. And then you don't have anybody proven after that outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And so I think if you were to, cut Clyde, that's a very thin backfield with Jerick McKinnon not coming back this year, and I don't know if they'd want to risk that. So I do think they'll keep all four as we look towards the regular season, which now, Mark, is 2 weeks away when the Baltimore Ravens will come to town. As we look at the NFL season kickoff, is there any overall storyline, anything that you're most excited to see and watch once the season kicks off for real in 2 weeks?
I don't know if there's maybe anything in particular that I'm excited to look out for. I feel like this Chiefs team is very good. They also feel very confident. And the one thing of the entire offseason that has really stood out to me was actually something that you and I both heard on the night of the Chiefs ring ceremony. You were talking to Steve Spagnuolo about this year's group and maybe what he was most excited about. And Spag said that this group is focused on winning a third Super Bowl title in a row. This is a guy, he said that on a night he was getting a Super Bowl ring. It was a night of celebration, and he wasn't focused on that celebration. He was focused on what is ahead. And just for a team that has reached the top of the mountain 2 years in a row and 3 times recently, it was incredible to hear that hunger and that focus from defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. So I would say looking into the year, I think the Chiefs, they're in it to win it. There is no doubt about it that their eyes are on a Super Bowl. And honestly, Jared, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I don't think there's anybody that can stop them.
Yeah, I think similar to in past years, the best chance of beating the Chiefs are when the Chiefs beat the Chiefs in the form of dropping passes, turning the ball over, penalties, and injuries. I think injury is the biggest thing. We saw a really great Chiefs team roll through the regular season. I'm talking about in 2020, the Chiefs had one regular season loss as a starting unit. And then they go into the Super Bowl where they hadn't even really been testing the playoffs. I mean, in the AFC Championship game against Buffalo, they rolled, but suddenly they were without Eric Fisher. They were out without Mitchell Schwartz. They were out their interior guys, and they fell apart against the Bucs. Patrick Mahomes was running for dear life, and that derailed a Super Bowl. So I honestly think it's injuries and staying healthy. Obviously, every team is going to get banged up, but it's how can your depth come through, and can you keep your key contributors healthy? That scares me more than any other team in the AFC. For as good as there are some strong AFC quarterbacks, I truly think the Chiefs are on a level where if they take care of business and don't have dumb drops, they're going to get in the dance. And then when it comes down to those pressure games, I am not picking against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. So, yeah, Mark, I'm very excited, and it's kind of a weird dichotomy, right, where you're looking and focusing towards February, but it's August, and you still have to take it 1 week at a time, and the games are important. I almost don't know how NFL players do it, because right now we're like, yeah, the goal is a Super Bowl in February. You can't fast forward to February. You still have to take care of the Ravens, the Bengals, and a tough schedule. So I applaud the Chiefs coaching staff for getting the guys to lock in like they do every year, and we'll see. But final thoughts on the Chiefs, Mark?
One thing I really want to touch on, especially in regard to the Chiefs going for a three-peat, we are talking about managing injuries, is the signing of backup quarterback Carson Wentz. When I first saw that signing, it was definitely something that piqued my interest, because Carson Wentz is a guy that was an MVP candidate. He's a guy that I believe could probably still start for maybe 10, 15 teams in the NFL. So at least it's good to know that, God forbid, should obviously, knocking on wood, don't want this to ever happen, but should something happen to Patrick Mahomes, right, you have a guy that can step in, and I think a lot of people around the NFL would have confidence that Carson Wentz could lead the team to the Super Bowl and potentially win that game. He is a quarterback of extremely high talent, and he's going to have a wealth of talent around him. So obviously you don't want anything to happen to Patrick, but should something happen, it seems like the Chiefs have maybe the best insurance policy they could have in the NFL. I think you could make a great argument that Carson Wentz is the best backup quarterback in the NFL. Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, he's up there, and I think it's something where we've seen 2 seasons where the Chiefs need a backup quarterback to perform well. It was Matt Moore a handful of years ago, and then more recently it was Chad Henne in that Browns playoff game, but then again in the Jaguars playoff game. It's not even about missing a game, missing a drive. We saw what Chad Henne did against the Jags, and that was valuable. So, no, I think odds are we're going to see in some shape or form Carson Wentz this year, and it's important for him to do well. So, yeah, and tonight will be, I expect to see Carson Wentz in some capacity tonight, and so it'll be good to see him out there in a Chiefs uniform for hopefully the last time for a while. But we will see. Kickoff at 7:20. We do want to mention the Royals here because, man, Mark, we are barreling towards, for only the second time ever, both the Chiefs and the Royals making the playoffs in the same season. Obviously, a ways to go. That's not a guarantee by any means, but at least we have a better shot at this than most years over the past handful of decades. So for those of you that can see the screen here, just a standings update. The Royals currently are 2 games back of Cleveland in the American League Central Division after the Guardians lost today. So the division is still within play. They're tied with the Minnesota Twins. They're only 2.5 games back of the top wild card spot. So even if they don't win the division, if they could somehow make up those 2.5 games, they would host the wild card series at Kauffman Stadium. So it's not a guarantee that they'll play on the road. And they have more and more of a buffer. They have a 3.5 game cushion over the Boston Red Sox for that last wild card spot. So, Mark, they're playing well, and I think a big reason why is the starting pitching. So let's start there. They get a gem from Michael Lorenzen last night, 7 innings of shutout ball, and the bullpen pitched well even last night, which is a rarity. But Lucas Erceg was great in the 9th, John Schreiber in the 8th. And this starting rotation, day in and day out, Mark, it's given the boys in blue a chance to win.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised. I was doing a little research. I was looking at the rotation. They had 4 guys with ERAs in the 3s. It was just what a difference a year has made. But as we go into this postseason run, which the Royals are in, my biggest question is obviously this is going to be pressure packed, and this is going to be something that this team and some of these pitchers have not felt in a long time. And I don't care what profession you're in, if you're a plumber, if you're a preacher, if you're a pitcher, when you feel pressure, you're going to perform differently. Your body is going to feel different. There's going to be a lot on the line at the K this fall, and I really would like to see how they're going to play in this pressure, especially with that logjam in the American League Central. It's going to be interesting to see how the Royals kind of mature into becoming a good ball club. I really feel like I kind of get a lot of vibes. Jared, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I really feel the vibes of this Royals team kind of feel like the 2014 Royals, where they're really knocking on the door, but they might not be all the way there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that season was different in the sense that the 2014 team really just kind of flipped the switch and played playoff baseball for months because they were 48-50. That's how they started the year. 2 games under 500 in July. But then from that point on, they had multiple 7-game win streaks. They really came together. The bullpen formula worked out. Their starting pitching played well. This hitting started to come around. Then in the playoffs, they were even better in the playoffs. Mike Moustakas was sent down in the regular season and then set the Royals franchise record for most postseason home runs in a single playoff run there, and they played better. I don't know if this Royals team that we've seen right now is going to play better in the postseason, in part because they've played better in the regular season. They started the first month really strong, and they haven't really had a lull, so I think they've been far more consistent. I don't know if I think it's a fair comp. I probably would say the 2014 team is slightly better, just because that bullpen was just so amazing, and I think this year's team, they're liable to lose games late, which is such a gut punch. But the starting rotation this year's better, and the lineup is comparable. And this year's team has a player in Bobby Witt Jr. that 2014 team did not have. They did not have an MVP candidate for as good as they were. So I think you can make an argument either way, and I think you're right in that the pitching is the reason they're here. But it's also an uncertainty come postseason time because Cole Reagans has never pitched in the playoffs. Neither has Brady Singer. Seth Lugo has barely pitched in the postseason, never made a start. Michael Wacha was an LCS MVP like a decade ago, but hasn't pitched a whole lot in the postseason since then. Michael Lorenzen as well. So, and then the bullpen, Lucas Erceg, who's been amazing for the Royals, but he pitched for the A's. They haven't sniffed the postseason. So, yeah, it's not a guarantee that the pitching will translate to the postseason. But, listen, once you get there, you roll the dice and take your chances, especially when an offense is led by Bobby Witt Jr. And when he gets on, guys like Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez are bringing him in. So what's your confidence level in what this lineup can accomplish, Mark?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Bobby Witt is one of the best players in all of baseball, but it's just it's kind of similar with the pitchers. I really want to see how they're going to respond to playing in this pressure. I feel like so much about winning and winning championships in sports is about how groups come together as a whole and they meet that pressure. They go up against that together. So I really want to see how maybe the group as a whole gets into some of these battles. But one thing I do want to say before we get off the Royals topic is that the fans need to get out there and really support this team. I was out at a game the other night against the Angels, and I want to say there were maybe 12,000 fans in the ballpark. This is a team that is good. This is a team with an MVP candidate playing at shortstop, and I think Kansas City needs to go out to the K, go out to Kauffman Stadium, get your butt in the seats, and support that team in this playoff push.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, I'm glad you brought it up. It's something I've brought up on this program before, and I feel bad because I definitely don't blame anyone for not going or if money's tight and everybody can spend their money however they want. But the fact of the matter is the optics aren't great. It's not a great look as a collective fan base. When you have not just Bobby Witt Jr., you have 4 All-Stars, legitimate All-Stars. You have a World Series MVP who's probably on his way to Cooperstown as a Hall of Fame catcher in Salvador Perez. You have what entered the week as the second best run differential in all of baseball. You've been good from the jump. It's not like they started slow and have now turned it on. They've been good from the beginning. And, they're right in the thick of a playoff chase. It is disappointing because you're right. On Monday, they had just a few over 15,000. Tuesday, they had 16,000. Then last night, they only had around 13,000. I know it's midweek. Listen, Mark, there are valid excuses for the people watching this being like, hey, school has started. Yes, and that's a valid reason you don't want to take your kid to the game and get home at 10 o'clock. I get that. School has started. The TV issue with people not having Valley Sports KC, that's a big issue. The stadium is in the middle of nowhere. And also the people that like that stadium had to vote to have it not moved, and so there's anger with that. There's all kinds of reasons, but at the end of the day, there's school in other cities, and more people go to the ballpark there. Other franchises have the exact same problem of Valley Sports. That's a national brand that can't watch it. And the fact of the matter is the Royals have the 26th lowest attendance, or ranked 26th in attendance the last couple of days. So it's not a great look, Mark. I think Kansas City fans are awesome, and I think they will get out to the ballpark. I encourage fans, if you can afford it, if you're a Royals fan, now's the time to get out there and support the team, because I promise you it makes an impact. It's no coincidence that the team's record is better at home than it is on the road.
Yeah, one more quick point on that. I know a lot of fans maybe at home are going to, why should they go to the game? I think they are professional on the Royals, but they need to get used to playing in front of a jam-packed ballpark. If they're going to be playing postseason baseball, every pitch counts. It is so high leverage. The fans are so involved. It's so much different from just a regular season game, and they need to play in that environment if we want them to succeed in that environment. So Royals fans, you got to get out there. You got to go to the K. You got to support this team. I think it's going to be a good rest of the way. And
Mark and I are not on the Royals payroll, so before you type in the comments that no, they didn't pay. We're just two Kansas City kids that want the boys in blue to play well, and I think that's something I didn't think at all, Mark. That I think is a great point. Getting experience, especially for a lot of these young guys, because the lineup hasn't played it. Salvador Perez and Hunter Renfroe are really the only two in the lineup that have played in big games. So the more experience they can have, to where it's not like, that first wild card game, there's 40,000, and then maybe Vinny Pasquantino's a little bit more nervous. No, you'd like them to have some of that experience. And I think if they continue to win come September, some of those weekend games will provide that. Because, listen, right now they're 71-56. They're 15 games above 500. That is the high water mark of the season. So it's not like they're just coasting on that good start. No. 15 games. This is the high water mark. Their plus 110 run differential is the highest mark any Royals team has had since 1981. And that counts a handful of good Royals teams. 3 pennant winners didn't have this successful regular season from a run differential standpoint. They're hot. They've won 6 of their last 7 entering this weekend series against Philadelphia. But now it gets tough, Mark. They've got 20 straight games coming up against playoff teams. This will be a big test. They don't need to go 12-8. I don't even think they need to go 10-10. If they go 8-12 and then take care of business with against teams that aren't playoff teams the rest of the way, I think they're in. They just can't avoid a big losing streak, and they've only been swept one time all year, so they've not had a losing streak more than 5 games. I don't expect them to have that, and that's why, Mark, I think they're going to make the playoffs. So it's a great time here in Kansas City, Mark.
It certainly is. Definitely excited for the postseason run. I can tell you out here the fans are beginning to break down a lot of their tailgate materials as it looks like they want to go inside. I see a Jay Cutler fan here. I've seen a lot of sad Bears quarterbacks jerseys today. We had a Jay Cutler, we had a Mitch Trubisky. It was just a collection of sad quarterbacks, and it made me grateful that we have Patrick Mahomes here in Kansas City.
There you go. The pride of Bishop Miege, Mark Poulose, talking to. I am not the pride of Staley High School. They have a lot more better alums than I do. But from Miege to Staley to here in Kansas City covering the Chiefs and Royals in the parking lot. Mark, thanks for hanging out with us. Shout out to Chemo Hood. No shout out to Chemo Hood's Minnesota Twins, who the Royals are currently competing with in the playoff chase. I wish no success to them. But outside of that, we want to thank you guys for watching this. We will have coverage after the game, live reaction in the parking lot. And, of course, hey, as the Royals keep winning, we will be at the K as well. So for now, James Shields, salute, and we will see you later tonight. Thanks, guys.